Hi, this is a review of the orderIT trading system activity for September the 14th, 2021. We had 7 trades on that day. 2 were buys and 5 were short sells. First trade was BX. That's Blackstone Incorporated. It tripped at 11:45:08 a.m. at a price of 131.65. It closed the day at 130.60, up 1.08%, and it's up 0.95% early morning, 131.84. So it actually has come up above its tripping price. So if you weren't able to get out, which kind of looks like it may have been the case here, but anyways, we'll have a look. See, 11:45 came up here, 132, 131.78. Okay, so roughly 130.45, 130. It stayed up. It stayed up from 12:30. It's almost 3/4 of an hour. It stayed up here. So that's a point where it came up above, or right after its tripping, it came up. A little bit at the end of the day, it came up, but only for a short period of time. So you could say there's a little bit of a possibility at the end of the day. But there was an opportunity point right after the tripping period, so that's a positive for that stock. But you can see it came down and pretty much stayed stable and dropped a little bit at the end of the day. We'll have a look at the indicators to see if they are showing that also. OBV came up. So OBV is pretty much working the same way as the price movement. MACD came up and then came down, came up. Averages came down and basically stabilized in the afternoon. DI it's showing a little bit more negative than positive DI, so that's interesting. That there's actually a little bit more negative push than positive push on the DI side. Then Bollinger Band, you see it came up, and then that's a little bit of a decline here early afternoon, and then basically sideways movement, and basically just dropped a little bit after its little bit of spike here, but it pretty much stayed moved sideways in the afternoon period. Next trade is KKR. That's KKR and Company Incorporated. Tripped at 12:05:54 p.m. at a price of 63.82. It was a buy. It closed the day at 63.39, up 0.11%. Have a look. See, 12:05. So this one here, pretty much the same way. It did come up after its tripping price, so it's good that it actually did come up. 63.80. Well, here, 63.97. Yeah. So around 1 o'clock, so around 12, from 12:05 to 1 o'clock, we're talking about almost an hour here where it was above the stripping price. You can see it came down, steadily declined a bit for most of the day. But anyways, that definitely is a positive because there was a point in the day where it was above its tripping price. And OBV, you see, came up and then came down in the rest of the day. MACD came up, down, basically stable movement rest day for averages, so averages didn't move too much. DI look, came up in the morning when it tripped, early afternoon when it tripped, and you can see the afternoon it was moving negative, or the directional index was negative, and you see the end of the day it was making a little bit of recovery here at the end of the day. It was fairly strongly negative too in the afternoon too, so it tells you that it should have been pushing down. And if you see the Bollinger Band, it was a bit of a drop, but at least it wasn't drastic. Usually when I see something like this where the average DI is up quite high, that is actually pushing down quite heavily, and I would expect the Bollinger Bands to be actually dropping quite extensively. But you can see the Bollinger Band didn't come down too much. It pretty much just came down to where the tripping price was and then stabilized. So it's not too bad. The stock technically was somewhat half and half, but it did perform positive enough to make a positive outcome. Next trade is MARA. That's Marathon Digital Holdings Incorporated. Tripped at 12:35:04 p.m. at a price of 35.52. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 34.68, down 2.56%. You can see it's actually making a recovery here early morning, up 2.68%. So it's pretty much made its loss from yesterday, but it was down by the end of the day, which makes this a positive. Just have a look-see at the indicators. Yeah, look, volume just continually dropping. MACD pretty much dropping. Sideways moving in the afternoon on the averages. DI down, pretty much down. A little bit sideways move. Well, you see the positive negative direction pretty much have been synced up at the end of the day, which kind of like shows the Bollinger Band where it did come down, but at the end of the day it was moving sideways. Next trade is MRK. That's Merck and Company Incorporated, tripped at 12:45:10 p.m. at a price of 72.40. It closed the day at 72.11, down 0.50%, and pretty much recovered to early morning here, but it was down below stripping price, so that would be a positive too. And we'll check the indicators. 12:45, yes. Volume was moving down, but you can see it's somewhat stabilized in the afternoon period. It did drop where it dropped for a trip. MACD came down, dropped. It came up a little bit. You can see it was recovering a little bit, but not too drastically. So pretty much sideways in the afternoon. DI, it came down, and you can actually see it was starting to recover early afternoon by DI's perspective. But Bollinger Band pretty much shows somewhat of a steady decline, not drastic, but it was somewhat moving down. That stock definitely was moving down. Next trade is MICT. That's MICT Incorporated. MIC, that maybe if you spell it out or pronounce it. Tripped at 12:31 p.m. at a price of 198. It was a short sell. Closed the day at 191, down 13.96%. Only making a small increase here in the afternoon, but definitely was down. We check to see what the indicators are showing. The volume came down, but you see late afternoon it was starting to make recovery. MACD, same thing, came down. 12:50, so it came down here, came down again. It was moving negative for the most part, but late afternoon it looked like averages were making a recovery. DI though showing somewhat a little bit differently. It was actually negative for the majority of the day. A little bit of a pop here, but at the end of the day it was still moving down. And Bollinger Band just basically show you a steady decline, sideways movements in the afternoon period. HPQ. HP Incorporated, tripped at 2:27:42 p.m. at a price of 27.66. Closed the day at 27.56, down 2.89%. So that's another positive. Okay, so volume 227. So yeah, we caught, volume, it tripped right around here and came down, stayed down. MACD, same thing, came down. And late afternoon, it looks like it was making a recovery. DI showing pretty much a negative downwards and down fairly strongly negative in the afternoon, and a little bit of a recovery in late afternoon and closing. And Bollinger Band just shows a steady decline, sideways movement in the afternoon. So stock was moving negative. Next trade is STT. That's State Street Corporation, tripped at 2:42:30 p.m. at a price of 87.08. It closed the day at 86.57, down 1.96%, so that's another positive. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, volume just dropping for practically the whole afternoon. MACD dropping, DI dropping, Boiler manual. That stock definitely was moving down. Okay, so that's 100% results. Very good day. I remember when I was looking at the activity yesterday that these tripping periods occurred there, but the stock price didn't look like it was dropping drastically or dropping at all. In fact, a lot of the stocks, especially on the short sells, they were recovering during the periods of time I was looking at it. So I was questioning really how strongly these trades would be. But as you can see, overall, the stocks ended up all being positive. So 100% positive. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.